The first week back in January can be revealing. You go back to the usual emails, meetings, routine, expectations, and whatever clarity you might have found over Christmas, it can start to fade. Not because it was not real, but because real life has started again. If you are in your 40s or 50s and you have spent over a decade in a demanding career or an identity-defining role, this is often the moment when the quiet pressure comes back. That familiar feeling of, I cannot keep doing this for much longer. You might still be in the role, or you might already be in the messy middle of the transition. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Agi Keramidas, a mentor, coach, and former dentist. Today's episode is about moving from clarity to action. I'm going to give you a simple tool I call a 90-day transition map. And by transition, I mean the next stage of what you are already navigating. Not a dramatic leap, just a clear turn towards what you want next. This is not a life plan. It is not a big New Year's resolution. It's just a grounded map for the next 90 days, so you are not stuck in your head circling the same questions. And as we go through it, if you realize you would like help applying this to your specific situation, I will tell you how you can book a midlife transition map session with me. Here's the problem. Insight without structure turns into overthinking. A lot of people in transition do something very understandable. They reflect, they journal, they listen to episodes like this, they have moments of insight, and then they go back into the normal week and the insight becomes mental noise. You start asking questions like, am I doing this right? Should I be further ahead by now? Should I change direction again? If you're asking these questions, there's nothing wrong with you. It is what happens when your mind is looking for certainty in a chapter that is still forming. So instead of trying to solve the next 10 years, let us give your mind something it can hold. 90 days. That is long enough to create real movement and short enough to feel doable. And now let's go through the 90-day transition map. If you can, grab a notebook. If not, just listen and you can come back later. The map has 3 parts: direction, focus, and action. And by the end, you will have one simple plan for the next 90 days. The part 1 is direction. So at the top of the page, write, for the next chapter of my work and life, what matters most to me is... Then finish that sentence with one line. This is not your perfect job title. This is the direction your inner compass is pointing. For example, this could be more meaningful impact, a calmer pace, more creativity, more autonomy over your time, more alignment with your values. Keep it simple, one sentence, because when your direction is vague, your next steps become vague, and that is when you drift back into overthinking. So ask yourself, if I keep this simple, what feels aligned for me now? Write one line. Part 2 of the map is focus. So now write the next line. Over the next 90 days, the one thing I am focusing on is... This is where people often get stuck because they try to do everything at once. They try to rebuild identity, find clarity, create financial stability, explore options, all in the same month. So let us simplify. Choose one focus for the next 90 days. For example, getting clear on your direction and identity in this new chapter. Or exploring options through proper conversations and practical steps. Or creating more stability, structure, and boundaries so you can actually move forward. Pick one. Not forever, just for 90 days. Write it down and notice how different it feels when you are no longer carrying everything at once. The part 3 of the map is action. So now write the third line. My next step is an experiment, and it is... Let me explain why I use the word experiment. I call it experiment because it takes the pressure off. An experiment is not a final decision. It's not you committing to a new identity forever. It is a real-world action designed to give you information. And it answers questions like, what happens when I try this? How do I feel when I do this for real? What do I learn about me and what fits me? Is this energizing or draining? So choose one experiment you will run in the next 14 days. Keep it simple and real. It could be 2 conversations with people doing work you are curious about, or a small piece of work you create and share to test your direction, or even a boundary you set so you protect time each week in order for you to work on your next chapter. Once you write that, then make it more specific. Write down what it is and when you will do it. And then add one more piece, because this is what turns good intentions into action. What I will do each week is... And choose something you can actually do. For example, 2 focused blocks every week for my next chapter, or a 20-minute review every Sunday, or one protected morning each week where I do not do admin, but I build instead. Write it down. If you are doing this and you are thinking, I would love someone to help me map this properly for my exact situation, this is precisely what my midlife transition map session is for. In about 30 minutes, we clarify your direction, choose the right focus for the next 90 days, and you will leave with one clear next step experiment that fits your real life. If you want to book that session, go to personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com/mentor. That is personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com/mentor. Now, let us finish the map. And a quick reminder, this is not about getting it perfect. It is not about having no fear or doubt. And it is not about creating a 10-year plan in January. This is simply a container for the next 90 days. So you stop living only in your head and start learning through action. 90 days from now, you will know more than you know today, not because you thought harder, but because you moved, you took action. Before you leave this episode, I want you to write 3 lines. Number 1. My direction is. And write one sentence about what you're aiming for now. Number 2. My focus for the next 90 days is. And write one clear focus. And number 3. My next 14-day experiment is. Name it and give it a date. Then, once you've done that, add one last line underneath. I will review what I learned on and pick a date 2 weeks from now. That is how you build momentum. You write it down and you review it. If you are listening to this and recognizing yourself, especially if you are in your 40s or 50s and you are in that in-between space where your old career identity no longer fits and the new chapter is still forming, you do not have to carry this alone. If you want support applying this 90-day map to your exact situation, you can book a midlife transition map session with me. In that session, we get clear on your direction, choose your 90-day focus, and you live with a clear next step experiment for the next stage of your transition. You can book it at personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com/mentor. That is personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com/mentor. Thank you for listening and for allowing my voice to be part of your journey. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,